Hey, 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 welcome back to Common Mansplaining. I'm Eddie, that's Christian,
Yo,
and
yo.
we got a fun one today. But before we get started, guys, please hit like, please hit subscribe. It really helps us get off the ground, and we need all the help that we can get with this algorithm. So hook us up. All right, so Trump is firing away at these cabinet picks. What do you think?
Well, they're all very interesting.
Yeah, they,
Quite, and they're the buzz of the Beltway. I like almost all of them. I
yep,
think,
I'm right there
um,
with you.
I think that in the general theme is a disruptor, but he's obviously had 4 years of being out of Washington
Right.
and learned some lessons. So
Yes.
it's a little what, a little older, a little wiser
Yes.
cabinet.
Yeah. One of the when I watched the Joe Rogan interview, that was one of the things that he mentioned is that Joe was asking him like, well, so how'd you pick the cabinet? Who did they just trot a bunch of people in front of you? And he's like, yeah, for the most part, you don't know who's who, right? And so they bring in all these career people, and they're
Mhm.
like, this is the right person to pick, and they tell you to pick him. And so of course, a lot of the choices he made last time were barriers to his administration
Mhm.
because anytime he wanted to get something done, it was like all these establishment people were fighting him. And so this time, I think he's very much learned that lesson to select people
Yeah,
that aren't going to be a hindrance.
people are like, that's not really how it's done, or they think I don't want to do it that way because that might be a political danger to you or to your achievements, and that wasn't how Trump wanted to handle it. Right?
That's not how he likes
He
to.
has a different political. Um, yeah, this is like replicating Trump politics is really difficult, but his approach, his things are not the way things have been done in Washington. So
Yes.
yeah. So definitely that message came through loud and clear. So let's talk first. I think about Department of Defense.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I really like Pete Hegseth. Really, really like it. It was funny because of I would say he's probably drawn the second most um, controversy out of all the picks so far, probably right behind Gates. And even though he's drawn the second most controversy, people are saying he's wildly inexperienced. And one guy was saying, oh, his greatest achievement was being a weekender on Fox and Friends. I'm like, no, no, his greatest achievement was that he was a major in the U.S. Army, that he
Yeah.
was a
Well, in
decorated
the Army
combat vet.
Reserve, but yeah,
What?
but
Well,
he
no, he was
served
active
tours. He
for
served
yeah,
tours. Yeah,
yes,
active. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
and he's a combat vet. I mean,
oh
he's
yeah.
he's decorated. He's got Bronze Stars. He's got multiple Ivy League degrees. He's extremely intelligent, and they're acting like he's not qualified. I'm like, you guys are out of your mind.
Well, his most recent, most high profile thing has been in journalism or commentary for
Sure.
Fox News. Um, you gotta. He's telegenic. He's
Yep.
comfortable dealing with the media, and because he's been through media training, obviously things like that.
Yep.
But what people don't remember is the DoD, the head of the DoD, the Department of Defense and the Army needs civilian oversight. It's
Yes.
it's core to our Constitution,
Yes.
right? We have the Joint Chiefs, you have the military experts, but the
Absolutely.
oversight over all that has to be a civilian.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
so his time away from the military, being in the civilian sphere, I think is a plus, not a negative.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I mean, it's nice to have career military personnel in that spot just because they're the breadth of knowledge, their experience. But I don't think he's lacking in any of those things. And I think he has the fresh perspective. Of course, the big thing that people are worried about is that he's going to go in and start, gutting out all the woke people. And that's probably the biggest plus to me. I'm like, thank God.
If it's bad for the military, then this is what civilian oversight is about. So Department of Defense, I think the media doesn't like him. I think because he's charismatic, good looking, he'll be telegenic, and maybe um, be if they attack this guy, they'll look like the bad guys or things like that. Like they want to vilify him. They want somebody more Rumsfeldian, Dick Cheney, who they could more easily portray as somebody who is out of touch. But this guy, yeah, he's served. He served in combat zones, right? Has inducted, and then he's also been in the civilian connection. He's also seen, has had, and commentated on, and there's open policies that woke policy is not only bad for America, but particularly bad for military and military preparedness. And
Yes.
being on the record as far as all of that means he's the enemy, which is
Yeah.
fine. But they would, I think, rather have somebody to attack who's more Cheney-esque or Rumsfeldian.
Sure. And I mean, of course, because they're Trump's picks, it honestly, he could be the most qualified person in the universe, and they would probably still attack him on any grounds that they could find. Now, my biggest hope for him is that instead of our military standards continuing to fall, like it seems like every 2 years I would look at like the physical requirements to do this, or the ASVAB score required to get into this program just kept on going down and down and down and down. Do you know that to be a Marine, a United States Marine, you only have to do 10 push-ups to get into the program?
Right. I think a lot of that has been driven by they haven't been able to meet their recruiting goals. So when you don't meet recruiting goals, we're a professional military. They think like, all right, as long as um, if you can do 10 push-ups, you probably don't have an injury, and we can train you from there. Right? That's right. That's, I mean, it's a pathetic baseline,
Oh
but
man.
that's right. But hopefully, like with Trump or with good leadership, right? Maybe ending woke policies, I think we'll get the right kind of people and more of them to be more comfortable that they can fit in the military. Are we going to lose people that want the military to pay for their gender transition? Yes.
Yeah.
Is that a price we're willing to pay? Is that a large number of people? No. These are all These are all things that I think Trump is okay with, and but you can't really even if they don't like him and they disagree with his policies, it's going to be difficult for Senate people to just straight up oppose him on anywhere other than political ground. They
Sure.
can't find any other reasoning. So, in general, I think Trump is gonna be able to get his way when it comes to the DoD head.
I think you're right. I think one thing that Pete Hegseth is going to have to worry about a little bit, and probably any of Trump's picks will, and this may have something to do with why Trump is picking the way he is just to shake things up. But
Mhm.
when you are a little bit younger, it's harder to get those with greater experience to follow your direction, and it's just one of those things where they just automatically assume. I mean, I was a manager in convenience stores for a very long time, and I started when I was young, and I can't tell you how many times I would be in charge of somebody that was like 50 years old, who's like, who's this little kid telling me what to do? It's like, well, he is there for a reason, Pete. So hopefully he gets the job done.
Yeah.
What do you think about Matt Gaetz?
So obviously, it almost feels like he's trolling a little
Yeah.
bit with Matt Gaetz. Like
Oh yeah.
he sort of elections have consequences. I got the popular vote. Like he's feeling it a little bit,
Right.
right? Like he's feeling like confident. Like he knows that that's somebody who establishment's not going to like.
It's like
Um,
a victory lap.
Especially all the Republicans who supported Kamala, and we
Yeah.
talked about it, are not going to like Matt Gaetz.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know much about his experience as a lawyer. Supposedly, he didn't practice law for very long, a couple of
Yeah.
years.
Only a few years. Yeah.
Um, and so he's been in the political sphere and is going to approach it as a politician,
Right.
and that sort of concerns it. I've heard different things like maybe Trump's playing 40 chess and he expects Gates to get voted down, and then when he gets his real AG, who everybody would oppose, he'll seem super reasonable compared to Gates.
That's
I don't think Trump's really doing that. I think he would like Gates to be the attorney general. We'll see if it happens.
right.
Um, he has a my one negative on Gates is him sort of creating that all that chaos in the House of Representatives, Mike McCarthy, the Speaker of the House drama that
Yeah.
was really driven by him, and I felt like it was a much ado about nothing. That McCarthy and him didn't get along personality wise. McCarthy thought he was kind of odious when it came to women.
Mm-hmm.
There was an investigation, nothing came of it, and
Right.
so Gates wanted it to be dropped. But McCarthy wasn't supporting his ambitions, and so he decided to depose the Speaker of the House, and Um, and I thought that was not good politics and not good optics, and it just slowed everything down. Now, I mean, it was during a Democrat administration, so slowing everything down is maybe an end to its own, and maybe he's playing that kind of chess. But that would be my one as far as what I Matt Gaetz's accomplishments
Right.
that I wasn't, that I'm not super thrilled with.
Yeah, I mean, his character notwithstanding, which seems to be ironically rather similar to Trump's. Um, I have to say, I wasn't disappointed to see him and the Freedom Caucus stand up to McCarthy.
Okay,
Just
tell me
just
more.
on the general grounds that you know McCarthy was. They basically threw their support to McCarthy, and they didn't have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were the deciding factor in McCarthy, attaining retaining his speakership, right?
No, but he lost his speakership. Johnson's the speaker.
Well, yeah, now, but I'm
Yeah.
saying so. Prior to that,
Oh yeah,
there
yeah.
was a vote for McCarthy, right? And they, without the Freedom Caucus, McCarthy doesn't stay the Speaker of the House, and
Mm-hmm.
so they threw him their vote on a list of contingencies, and McCarthy quite explicitly broke that list of contingencies
Mm-hmm.
like in a week. So I mean, I think they were trying to prove a point, and I think the point was well stated in that you know we can't just continue to ram 2,000-page omnibus I can't even speak, omnibus
Budgets.
bills right down everybody's throat like on a lame duck session when nobody could even possibly have enough time for their team to read it,
Yeah, no
and then
oversight. Yeah.
it's just like bing bang boom, we're just going to throw it together. And McCarthy was obviously that establishment rhino that just what was, he's been in the game, this is how it's always been, so I'm just going to be lazy, basically. And so
Mhm.
I am glad. Now, of course, Gaetz is a very, flamboyant facade. And so there's a,
Well, he has ambitions. He wants to be noticed. He
sure,
wants to. He
sure.
likes to be on TV. He likes the attention. What's the old saying that politics is show business for ugly people? And Gates is above average attractiveness. So is Trump,
Sure.
and so they're not afraid of the limelight,
Right.
and wanting to be in there. So we'll see. The DOJ, once it actually gets up and running, is generally supposed to be a little bit more black box, like not as much
Right.
interaction from the White House. But again, disruptor president. We'll see what if that
Absolutely.
that role is going to be um, very different under Trump this time.
Yeah. Now, one of life's little ironies, right? And it is maybe Trump trolling. Tulsi Gabbard was in a position where the intelligence apparatus
Mm-hmm.
had unrighteously placed her on, essentially a terror watch list,
Yeah.
right? We're talking about a career officer with
Mm-hmm.
impeccable record,
Yep.
like nothing to even remotely
Yeah.
provide even the semblance of impropriety in any sense, right?
Yeah.
And here they are putting her on a like a
Yeah.
you know a no fly zone, right,
Mhm.
basically. And so, of course, it's kind of like, poetic justice that she gets to now be the head of that. It's kind of poetic justice that Gates, who is also investigated, now gets to be the head of that. And so it's like now all of a sudden the tables have turned, right? And we've got, as
So
everything.
I'm looking at right now about um yeah, you're talking about Gabbard, or you're talking about
Well, Gabbard and Gates were both
yeah.
people who had been investigated by one department or another,
Yeah.
and now are in position to be in control of those departments. So
Well, yeah, she
kind of
has
funny,
the highest security clearance in the land
right?
when they were disputing, letting her, have the keys to some sort of government vehicle in,
Right,
you know,
right,
Nowheresville, Kansas. So, yeah, it's definitely she's not beholden to the deep state. In fact, she's going to be very antagonistic to the deep state, which is another trend um, of having people that are going to be geared up to take on the careerists who are going to be geared up to oppose
yeah. Now, one
them.
interesting, ooh, one interesting kind of phenomenon that I've noticed is that there is a split between some of his picks, some of Trump's picks seem very um, dovish in foreign interventionism, and some of them seem very hawkish, right? Like if I
Mhm.
were to pick, RFK Jr. seems kind of dovish, Tulsi Gabbard seems kind of dovish, Marco Rubio, I mean, he's another Cheney, like he's a war hawk, right? And so it's interesting to see this combination of people, of course, within their own sphere. They may not have as much, of course, RFK isn't going to have much to do with foreign policy, but
Well, all the cabinet heads sit at the table
yeah,
and have input,
sure.
and right.
Whew.
Excuse me. So all the cabinet heads sit at the table. We'll discuss issues, um, and it's good to have that there'll be different viewpoints. Right?
Yeah,
Kennedy's always praised for having for selecting a cabinet that would not just be a bunch of yes men, but
right.
that would have different, so that when a confrontation came up, he would be presented with different choices and not just one way. Um, so I can see that, though. I mean, a lot of this comes down to his chief of staff pick, which we haven't
Yeah,
talked about,
right.
and that she wants to run a campaign that's ordered. She wants to run a cabinet that is going to support Trump's goals, but be able to do that in a way where not everybody's just a
A barricade.
not a barricade or empty suit
Right.
yes man for that can give Trump intelligent uh, information when he makes a decision to make a decision. So
Yeah, absolutely.
hopefully that, like Rubio, yeah, is definitely a person of gravitas and experience, and he's not going to be cowed by the media. I thought,
Not at all.
he's salty.
Oh
He's
yeah.
salty, and he. I think they all know Trump's only got 4 more years left, and see
Right.
who are going to be the stars that come out of it. Is it going to be Vance? Is it going to be Rubio? Uh, and Gates, people that are now positioning themselves, right? The 2028 presidential election starts on June
Yeah, right.
22nd or
And they're off.
January 22nd. And so, yes, this is show business. I think we'll see that. But yeah, I think, yeah, maybe that hawk and the doves, right? Because generally the Democrats are more doves, but it's seen that the whole policy of peace through strength, right?
Yeah.
What is that? That you've got to sort of almost appear eager, like you're itching for a fight
Right. Right.
before negotiation will work at all. If
Talk
they can
softly.
sense, that the last thing you want to do is send a troop or fire a missile or do anything,
Right.
your negotiation is going to achieve nothing.
Right.
But
Biden.
if they feel like, hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this 100%, we're going to, then your negotiations have some meat. So we'll see. I mean, it's he is a disruptive president, but his foreign policy achievements, while his approach was unconventional and
Right.
sometimes very off-putting, his achievements were real.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one of the things, by far and away, the biggest complaint I hear about anything Trump does, of course, and in it's definitely evident in his cabinet picks, is last time the Democrats would say, "Thank God we had all of these these stops, these checks to Trump's
Mhm.
power. These people who would nobly stand up to Trump, like
The
Jim
whistleblowers,
Kelly,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah.
right, right. And I just have to say, obviously, you know, y- you don't want to staff with entirely yes men, but by the same token, I've been in management. I'm telling you, you cannot go and run
Oh
anything
yeah,
if
Judas is. You
if
can't have a Judas. A
right.
contrary voice is one thing, but a Judas
Yeah, you can't have
stabbing
someone
you in the back.
poisoning
Yeah,
the well. You can't
yeah,
have, like out of your, let's say you've got a complement of a crew of 30 people that directly report to you, or 50 people. You can't have like
yeah,
23 of them not in your corner, right? You have
yeah.
to have, like, the bulk of it has to be behind you,
Hmm.
and otherwise it just doesn't work. Otherwise you're just not managing anymore,
Yeah.
right? And that's when you
No,
find yourself in these awkward positions where you're like, I'm your boss and you have to do what I say, because you should never have to say that, right? They should already know
Right.
that coming in. And I think Trump has picked wisely to get at least
So
that
far,
camp of people.
but Trump has also shown he's not afraid of relieving people.
Sure.
When right, Biden left everybody that got approved, he just let them ride. He didn't do any type of relieving or kind of thing like that. So um, if Trump finds that the friction is not conducive and not building, he'll fire him and get
Oh
somebody
yeah.
else. Like that's not something he's afraid of, and he's willing to rock the boat and not worried about the negative opt-ins. This will
Right.
drop 2 points, and we need to release this news on a Friday afternoon when nobody cares, and uh, that kind of posturing, West Wing kind of posturing.
Do you need employment counseling?
Now it's interesting. I want to talk not necessarily about cabinet picks, but they also announced today his press secretary, like person that will interact with the press. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. Who's that?
She's if you look it up, a very attractive woman, kind of younger. She has been a spokesman for him on news channels, has gone on, done interviews for him. Um,
Nice. Well, that's good. I mean, they know each other.
right. And her name is,
Caroline Leavitt.
yeah.
Leavitt. I don't know
A
from.
little shout out to North Carolina and how,
Yeah. Woo woo.
and then Carolina
Well, that's good. I
to
tell
our
you what,
role.
Trump desperately needs a press secretary who's used to his his policies, demeanor, because otherwise, I'd have to assume that's the hardest job in the
Oh
White House. I
yeah,
mean,
oh
like
yeah. I mean,
all you do is
like,
lie the whole time. I mean, for cover
I
or
mean, the amount of like face palms
what?
that normal people would read his tweets and be like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to explain this to the press corps." But he's also talked about shaking up the press corps. So, did you hear this? This is the big thing I want your action on.
Yeah. Yep.
He's going to give spots in the West Wing newsroom to podcasters.
Ooh, I like it. I
Should that
like
be a
what?
goal of ours? The common mansplaining should have a seat at the table eventually,
Absolutely, absolutely.
right?
Right, right next to Rogan, and uh, now I will say, I mean, as bad as Karine Jean Pierre was, like I felt so bad for her just because I mean that job is a nightmare because I can't tell you how many times she'd go up there, she'd make a statement, and then someone would ask her, like, so what is your plan to handle the missiles that were fired from Iran or something? And she'd be like, what? It was like she would always be the last one to know because Biden just wasn't active enough to. She's like, huh?
Yeah, she's guessing at what Biden's positions are, things to
Right.
be, and there was an active deception to hide his complete incompetence.
Oh man.
But that was like the worst kept secret in the world, let alone Washington D.C.
Yeah, that was
And so
ridiculous.
she had to stand up there and pretend like SNL would mock it. How in control of these meetings Biden was, and how like boom, 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 boom. And it's like, okay, can we see that? No, 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 no. So all of her credibility is shot. She just say some things that just on it, the face, everybody's just rolling her eyes. So
Right.
I think this will be good. Obviously, the press doesn't like anyone that's going to be spinning or framing or trying to control the narrative in a positive way for the Trump administration.
Right.
And
Of
they're
course.
going to try to punt polls on that. But we'll see if she's up to the task. She seems like she's got, excuse me, she seems like she does have media comfort
Oh
training
yeah.
and is not going to be awkward as far as doing that. And
She's
I think, yeah, with 4 years tan, rested, and ready, I think they're on message and ready to know where they want to go, and so when they get questions, they can know what their philosophy is towards that policy.
right. Right. Well,
So,
all in all, I'm pretty excited. I think it's ironic that the world famous misogynist appointed a female chief of staff, and like how many positions went to like one, two, three. It's like about half of them basically
yeah.
are women, and there's Vivek Ramaswamy that is there. There's people of color. I mean, Trump is he's I'll grant that he's given a very diverse cabinet so far. So, and
Mhm.
I'm excited, except for
But it's spicy. And we'll
It-
see if I would not be shocked. I think Gaetz is a less than a coin flip. I think he's got a 45% chance to get. He's going to have to do some work. He's going to have to change some people's minds or be
yeah,
impressive in his meetings, in his hearings, things like that, to have to, I think, win over people like
yeah,
Murkowski, Collins, um, and some of the people that maybe feel like they're facing a reelection in a tight race in 2 years. Um, might really want to be reassured that he comes across as really on the job and not spiteful and not a jerk.
right,
Um,
right.
or they're going to get cold feet and they're going to be like, "Is this if I vote for this guy? Is this something my opponent in 2 years, like a senator who's facing a tight reelection in 2 years, that's going to get thrown in my face that I supported this guy?
Right.
Um, like, am I giving my vote of confidence to him?" And so that's why I think he's got some work to do.
Yeah.
He's while Rubio obviously or others come in like something, it would be dramatic, some revelation come in to cancel or stop their
Yeah, I agree.
confirmation.
I agree.
But I think he's on the other side of the hill right now, in
The
spite
side
of
of
the 52 votes that senators would have.
Yeah, I have to assume that even though he's no longer, under the oversight committee's jurisdiction, I'm guessing that report is still going to be pulled when he goes for his confirmation. I mean, I don't think he actually dodged that like he thinks he did.
Well,
Uh,
ostensibly, right, the chief of staff would have fully vetted him and be okay with
right.
whatever revelations are going to come out and be fully prepared for that and accept them and feel like that they're maybe that's just framing. Obviously, I mean, they said Trump had, you know, prostitutes urinating on him in Russia,
Well,
and
who
they could
doesn't?
say, look, I mean, this is what we call a Tuesday
Yeah,
around here.
right, it's like a
Common Man Tuesday. No,
comment.
but so trying to frame a conservative Republican in any way for making any type of bad choices romantically because we're the party of self control, of abstinence and of sort of sexual responsibility as a citizen's duty and not the government's job to bail you out.
Yeah,
So they always want to find it Hippocratic if anybody has the slightest bit of sort of sexual impropriety. That is not new to 2024, right?
right, right, right,
Read Alexander Hamilton's or watch the play his play why he never well despite being shot why he wasn't considered a serious presidential candidate because sex scandals there.
right.
It's Washington D.C. So we'll see if Trump seems to not be cowed by that. He wasn't cowed by the prosecutions and the claims coming at him, and so maybe he's willing to give Gaetz a vote of confidence. Let's see if Gaetz can win people over, and if he can win me over, I'm still
I'll give him a
I'm
shot.
open. I'm open to it, but he's got some work to do with me. I'll be honest.
Yep. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited
Yeah.
overall. I mean, guys, let us know what you think below. Give us some comments, and I definitely look at those. I'll definitely respond. But any other closing thoughts from you?
Um. Just um. There are going to be a lot of more boring picks.
Sure.
That doesn't mean that those aren't as important either. But maybe, in fact, that's maybe the last four is that all the attention is going to be on Gaetz,
Yeah.
and then he'll be able to get in other people that the media might want to drum up. Hey, how about this? And nobody will be like, I don't care. I don't care
Right. Yeah.
because nothing's going to be as interesting as Gaetz
Pick your
or
battles.
and so that's going to be the story and maybe suck all the air out of the room and maybe that's good and maybe that the rest of his stuff go through and Gaetz is the catalyst for that. So we'll see if that's 4D chess or not, but
Oh,
hopefully he gets what he wants.
we'll see. We'll see.
All
All
right.
right, guys. Catch you next time on Common Mansplaining.